All right, good morning and welcome to our Coffee Talk series with the Austin chapter of Les Dames d'Escoffier. I'm Lorena Legruta, Second Vice President and the Chair of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee, DEIB. This is our second DEIB focus episode, and I'm thrilled to be announcing and introducing our guest speaker for today. As a quick reminder, though, before we start, we'd like to make sure that everybody knows we're recording today's episode, which we will use as a resource later. For all members to go ahead and click on and watch. And then, of course, the other thing is I'd like to encourage anybody who has a question to please use the chat area to submit any of your questions so we can make sure we get to them ASAP. But back to our speaker today, as I mentioned, I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest speaker. She is a powerhouse entrepreneur and a small business's biggest cheerleader. An eternal optimist, Tam Hawkins has used her impressive corporate background to help champion and advocate for hundreds of minority-owned businesses throughout Austin. Tam is the president and CEO of the Greater Austin Black Chamber of Commerce, a board member of the East Austin Conservancy, a group which is committed to promoting affordable housing and economic diversity in East Austin. She's also currently a member of the Austin Area Research Organization, and of course serves on Austin Leadership Austin, Visit Austin, the Ronald McDonald House of Central Texas, along with many, many more boards and memberships, of course. Please, everybody, please help me welcome Tam Hawkins today. Tam, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be in front of you, dynamic and powerful women. I have gotten the privilege to know a little bit about you through Joy Chevalier. And so and she's just an incredible godsend, right, to anything that she touches. But I wanted to be informal today. I'm not sure how you do this. And I thought that I just would talk a little bit about what I do and who we are as an organization. I have the privilege of representing over 519 businesses in the Austin area with the Greater Austin Black Chamber of Commerce, which was founded in 1982. And I'm proud of that number because we are not the oldest Black chamber in the nation. That goes to Dallas, which is, they're over 100 years old. They were actually the first Black chamber, but our chamber was unique in that we are at the Capitol. And so we have a different kind of a viewpoint on what we do and how we do it because of that, I think. And then the fact that there's such a heavy tech presence really kind of shapes some of what we do. So we're different in that aspect, but started in 1982 with a group of 12 men and women business entrepreneurs that found need and said, hey, we wanted a seat at the table. And it was heavily based in tourism. And we had a larger Black population in the MSA at that time, but it's since dwindled some, but I'm happy to report that we've seen a bit of an uptick. But I think in general, you're seeing a lot of growth in the surrounding areas of the Metroplex. And I use terms like Metroplex because I'm from Dallas, and that's what we say. But we're seeing that growth, and we definitely as a region are planning, and I'm sure a lot of you already are aware of that, planning for the next few years based off of that demographic growth model and spurt, and trying to figure out and wrap our brains around that and work better as a region. And that's work that makes me super passionate because I think cities and states that win, they have a great regional approach to doing business in the area. And so I encourage all of your members that when you're making your plans, think in those along those lines and those terms. I'm trying to think of what else I could tell you about us. We are the second largest chamber in Texas, Black chamber in Texas, with heavy emphasis, like I said, in tech and food services. So that's something that might be of interest to you ladies. And we also try to work with other partners across the state. And I also have a international appeal as well. And a lot of people know of Austin as like this great city, but I think what Austin does better than other cities is that we are able to, it's like, I call it like a colony of bees that are busy working bees, and every little piece makes it grow. And we get to be considered one of the most wonderful cities to live in the United States, because all these different parts are moving to make that happen. So my markets are both coasts, being the West and East. So San Francisco, LA, New York, Chicago, Bermuda also. So we do an international component to what we do. Brazil, certain parts of Africa. And I'm not, our chamber is not unlike some of the other chambers. So we have what's called the Multi-Ethnic Chamber Alliance. And that is a Hispanic, Black chamber, gay and lesbian chamber, LGBT, I'm sorry, they changed their name, LGBT chamber, and the Hispanic chamber, I think I might have said that, Asian chamber. And so, and I'm proud of that alliance. For the first time, I don't know if you guys are aware of this as well, for the first time, in what we're aware of as Austin's history, all of the major chambers are headed by women. And our economic development department as well, led by a woman. And so it's a really unique time. And I find it a strange time as well, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. The world has got turned upside down. And we have all these women leaders helping us navigate a lot of the challenges that we face as a city, as a country. So it's an interesting time to me that we get to lead right now. I'm trying to think of what else is good. I have a presentation, if you're interested, that probably kind of streamlines a lot of what we do and how we do it. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to learn from me? Or if there's any questions that members have, I'm more than happy to.
Sure, Tam. I get a lot of questions from our membership just asking, how do we want to be more inclusive, we want to be more diverse. How do we start working with the Black community in Austin? And I know it seems like we'll just go out and start working with someone, but a lot of times the question is, where do I find, these businesses, these vendors, these suppliers, anybody that I'd like to include? How do I do that? Like, where do I go?
So that's a valid question. And it's a difficult task, because oftentimes those businesses they're underfunded when they start. So they don't have the same kind of marketing. They may not be in the same rooms. And so they don't have the same network or connections. So one of the ways you can find through an association with us, there are some other organizations that may also have a list, a distribution list that you could probably gain access to. But what I say is you have to be intentional about your spending power, right? And so the fact that you have interest in doing that, that's great. And that's a start. And then a Google search, and it's hard, and I get it. It's hard for us as a team finding businesses and making certain that we spotlight them and we connect them to media so that stories are being told about them. So that's why it's a great honor to be here, to be able to talk about some of these people that do just incredible work, that are talented. So make a vendor list is what I call it. So you start off with a quick Google search. Google, I have to say, has been an incredible partner, and they actually are designating Black owned businesses by map. So if you type in Black business or Black whatever, you're more likely to see that populate now in their algorithm. And that's just amazing and life-saving for some of these businesses. Our austinbcc.org, which is our website, is also an incredible source. We have a list of vendors, from professional services to everything, literally. When the pandemic first happened, we recognized there was a great need for mental health care providers. So we combed through a list of I think 50 healthcare providers, just me on a computer, just going through, trying to figure out who. And we have literally everything from a granola kind of mental health care provider who, is having patchouli in the office, to more of a corporate person so there's something literally for everyone. So I said that to say that even in the vendor relationships on the opposite side, I believe that there's almost something for everyone, depending on what your style of business is or what your preference is. And I say have a list because that helps you navigate that, because we all just, it's human nature to tend to, you've already got a working relationship. You don't want to burn a working relationship too. So even how do you transition that to try something new? And so one of the questions that I also get asked along these lines is, how do you explain that to a current vendor? Like, what do you say? And so one of the ways I say it in our office, because, you know, we will buy something from someone in our own vendor relationship, and one of our members might get a little not happy. And so what I say is that I cycle through to be fair, because I have to make certain that we're diversifying our spending power, our small spending power, but it has to be diversified, because if I'm going to tell someone to do that, we have to walk that walk in our office as well. And so, so I can't always use the same vendor for everything. And so, and I hope that some appreciate that and understand that we're trying to be fair, and we go out of our way to make certain that others know about them, right? But that's kind of our job. And I know in your industry, that's a little bit different, but explaining that, or even asking questions about vendors you have current relationships with. Who are they subcontracting with? What's that look like for them? And just having those tough questions and honest conversations, and say, we'd love to see you diversify your spending. Like maybe you're buying from a big distributor, and we'd love to see you increase your supplier diversity program. And, you know, here's some vendors that I know locally that I like, that could you put them on your list, or reach out to them, or see who, you know, who handles your supplier diversity program. Those are for larger vendors, of course. And a lot of them are open. I can't tell you how many corporates have come to us, and we've helped them navigate what their program should look like.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Thank you. That's actually a great idea. And that really makes me start thinking of maybe putting that vendor list together as a membership list, just to get all together for us. Another question that I get often is, we have minority-owned business owners, and what kind of resources are out there for them to access? Where do they? Sometimes they don't know where to go, and they're just a little lost. And if you have any kind of ideas as to where, or which you can share with us as far as resources for them, that'd be great.
For I want to clarify that I heard you correctly. For minority businesses
Yes.
yeah. So City of Austin has wonderful programming for small business resources. The SBA does. SCORE has like incredible programs that they help really kind of navigate and walk through some of the pain points. I hate to toot my own horn again, but we also have, we fancy ourselves as a resource hub, and not just for Black-owned businesses, although that is our primary market demographic. It's a comprehensive, like where to, how to. We have a business in a box kit, I believe, and we just kind of walk you through like almost everything you want to know, from, why am I filing an LLC versus an S corp? Like what does that mean, and who should I go to, or what's a best practice? And so new members tend to get that, I believe, more so than older members. But don't quote me, I believe it's posted on our site. But if not, we still have that kit, and more than happy to send it out to those who need it. So those are wonderful sources. I'm just a business junkie. It's in my blood. I'm a third generation entrepreneur. So I tend to find it, I'm always like prowling the internet and looking at stuff. So, and reading articles. And so coming up and seeing new programs. There's some wonderful programs with some venture capitalist firms now too, where they're doing these accelerators, and they're just fantastic programs. We just promoted one recently. They were looking, I can see Kim's face. I know her first name. I cannot see her last name. And I can get that. I think it's First Founders is the name of her company, but she's a VC firm based out of San Francisco, and she does programs across the country. And she just recently offered my membership this incredible program that I know is probably like $5,000, that she offered it to them, I believe, for like $200. And so they had to apply and compete. But still, can you imagine as a small business owner what that does, this world-renowned VC in her program, and you go through that process for $200, how that literally might change your life. So.
That's definitely, I mean, that's amazing. resources like that are just so incredible. For, obviously we're women owned, but as you see, minorities across women, minorities, anybody who really needs that funding, it's so hard to get grab that capital and be able
Yeah.
to do something, and I see that a lot, especially with our membership, and they're always seeking that kind of resource. So thank you for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, we share some of the same challenges, right? Women and minorities, we have like similar challenges in finding capital. I'm sorry, you were speaking.
Oh, no, exactly that. Just saying, it's so difficult to find all that. And it's something that, we need to be able to have those resources available and just know where to find them. I think the hardest part is not knowing where to find these resources. And that's always half the challenge, I think. And the other half is, of course, just applying and being able to get those resources. But, COVID's hit so many of us, how do you, do you kind of have, I don't think everybody has the right recipe, but do you have kind of an idea of how to turn some of these businesses around, or even just for, especially when it comes to Black-owned, minority-owned businesses, they have even less funding, as we just mentioned. But just some thoughts on turning things around and just kind of stepping out and being still successful through this trend.
Yeah, I know that those who were able to really to be a bit more successful than others, they were able to adapt to digital models fairly easily. And that was, I mean, from restaurants to professional services, they were able to integrate tech into their business model, which is something that our chamber had been championing for years. And again, and I think that was part of the privilege of being in Austin, is we had all these tech giant partners that were always putting on programs for our membership to help them have low cost tech options, or lower costs, I should say, because it's business still, so cost or cost. But I think that's probably, and then I'm just going to say it, and I know I'm being recorded. We've got to get people vaccinated. We've got to get people healthy. There is no turning around this economy. I don't care who you are, and you have a sick population. That is the first thing. And then the second part to that is, we have to have childcare. We're women. If we don't figure that out as part of that equation in this pandemic, that was when we first started and all of our business leaders were coming together. That was the biggest challenge we had, figuring that out. And I am completely obsessed with women. We've made so many gains over the last few years, and we are dropping out. I've, made jokes that I have considered myself. I don't know how. I'm like, I don't know, how can I keep, even this morning, I'm like, okay, how do I feed the kids, get on this call? How do I do, how do I get all this together and be ready? And so, and it's hard. And I think we've got to understand that. I think policy, quite frankly, is going to help us navigate that. And that is not necessarily a popular thing to say, but it is the truth. And I think right now is the time for us to advocate for certain policy changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for your honesty, because you're 100% right, especially for women who took a brunt of it, during COVID and the pandemic, and even now, because it's not over. But yeah, absolutely. I think that's very, very important. Kind of switching gears just a little bit, how do we grow an allyship? How do we really grow that and develop that? I know we're very interested in growing our DEIB program through LIDOMS. And it's something that we get asked a lot, is what is allyship? And then of course, how do I incorporate that into what I do?
So I think it's just back to being candid and just recognize, and I don't mean to sound like I don't have the nice word for it, but just continuing deepening relationships and asking questions and being vulnerable. And I don't mean it in the new age sense, but just that knowing that you're not going to always nail things. Nobody's perfect, right? And being able to take the risk. So that being said, is aligning yourself with good organizations that are doing incredible work that also will allow the grace of well, maybe I didn't say it right, or I know what I meant and here's my intent. And someone being able to understand that as well. So I spoke about Mecca, and I'm just a diehard fan because I know how hard our teams work at building a healthy economic system in Austin. I know how when a winter outage occurs and how we all band together and we're providing diapers. And, you know, one chamber leader will say, hey, I got this funder who wants to provide diapers. Do you guys want to help? Sure. And we're all in it together. So, and to me, that's allyship as well. So, and in terms of, we are diverse cohort. So I encourage you guys to look at any of our websites and join in where you feel fit or see fit. And they also, my partners are amazing, just a wealth of resource. And so I think just continuing, this is a great conversation. So continuing this and asking questions and seeing how you might be able to assist.
What's something that we can do to help support you and your organization?
That's a good question. So I think one thing is, I don't think a lot of people know about just the groups that I just mentioned. So a lot of people don't even know that we exist. And I had a member the other day emailed us, and we all like started getting teary-eyed because he said, you know, in the few short months that we joined, you have put us on television. He went to the first Founders Accelerator. I've gotten this accelerator. He's like, I have taken, it's the best investment I've ever had. And I was like, I'm so glad. He's like, I didn't even know you existed. And there was one more thing. We put him in contact with a regional firm that's doing pro bono legal work. Their way to give back to social justice is helping with legal work. I think that's just fascinating. And I can't wait for them to let me tell that they're doing this, because it's just, I think what a godsend, right? When you can have someone help you navigate that and all the expense. So I said all that to say, joining, if you see fit and it matches what your business needs are, or telling people about the work that we do and letting people know, that is so helpful for us. And then finally, being intentional about your dollars and your spend, whether that's your charitable giving. Do you always give to the same charities? How are you raising, for those of you that may have children, how are you raising your children to think about giving? When the pandemic first happened with our family, my children are 13 and 8. I almost said 7, and she'd be mortified if I said 7. And I allowed them to, and we still do it, but I allowed them to pick a restaurant that they wanted to order takeout from. And they finally said, well, why? And I was like, well, these people are like our friends, and we want to make certain that they get to survive this on the other side. So our part is to make certain that we are intentional about how we're eating, because we're going to eat. So can we take once a week and go to a restaurant and get some to go? So I don't think that message is only for my family. I think anybody's family can do that and teach your children about how they're spending and the power of their spending and the responsibility of it as well. So.
Absolutely. Let me open up make sure anybody has any questions that they'd like to also pose. I'm just taking up all the hogging up all the microphone here today. So
no, it's been a pleasure. And I can ramble. So that's the other thing. Like I said, I started my first business at 19. My family, I'm third generation. So I can talk about business until I'm blue in the face. So if anyone has any questions about that, or just, I don't want to sound like, what's his name, Emmanuel Acho. If there's any burning question that you want to ask, just ask it. I've got pretty thick skin. I grew up in corporate sales, so.
Well, I was going to say, I saw you, I read your bio, and I did a little more research and everything, and it's amazing your background, from, corporate world, you've done all this, and to make that turn and to use all of that to go ahead and help the community has been amazing. I think that's incredible work on your end. And I just love your whole story. So I think that's fantastic. Thank you for everything you're doing for our community. I'm not sure if anybody else has any questions. If not, what I will do, because I know we're going to get close to about our mark here, but Tam, if you want to give us kind of just a summary or a wrap up of, a little bit of what we talked about, a little bit of what you need from us, and that way we can wrap that up, and then we will go ahead and end our session.
Sure. I think we live in an incredible city. I love the work that your organization is doing. I think for anyone who's interested in being part of a wonderful solution, right? And for diversity and inclusion is create a vendor list. And you can do that by going to our website. There are some other organizations, even the city of Austin itself. You can type in, I think, Hub, HUB, or no, their program is MBE, but the state is Hub. So you can go there and you can figure out different things. They are kind of mammoth to navigate, I will tell you that, but it's there for you. And create that list so then when you need it, you can go ahead and utilize it. And then ask your current vendors, what are they doing in their practice? How are they supporting small minority women-owned businesses? And see what their responses are. And so those are things that I think you could do pretty relatively easy.
Excellent. Well, Tam, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And I really appreciate you being here and sharing so many insights and of course, all the resources you've shared. I'll definitely have this posted up on our website for our members to see later. So I greatly appreciate it. Thank you again. And I look forward to hopefully working with you in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.